Hello, folks, and welcome back to more BTS European series, season 3, episode 3, number 3. We'll go with that. We've got Danish Spurs versus Tornado Rocks. I'm Llama Down Under. We've got Scant on stats, and joining me is the Wonder Cow. No Legion Commander ban. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and well, they did get the Outward Devourer through as well. I believe last game Danish Bears to ban that right off the gate.
Yeah, they
And
did. I am a little bit wondering if that's something they've done some research on or just something they really don't want to play. Either way, Tornado Rocks have gotten the hero.
yeah, and well, let's see. Yeah, it was Danish Bears who banned it out before, so Tornado Rocks seemingly have a reputation with this hero coming into this game. I'm trying to see if that's warranted from ticketed play, or if that actually just comes down to scrims and innate knowledge of each other, because they are teams that will bump into each other pretty frequently.
Yeah, it's. I
Yeah, they
actually
do pick
do
them up
wonder if.
sometimes.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't. It's not something that when you say Tornado Rocks heroes, it wasn't
Right.
something that sprung to mind. We actually
Yeah.
got an interesting stat as well last game, just at the end there, from Scant, that apparently Tornado Rocks, they don't play very well with the IO on their team, but they play really well against the IO. So, just I mean, maybe they're practicing it here. This isn't a huge risk place, and
They're definitely practicing it
Okay.
because they've got 2 games in a row. And to be fair, that IO did make several really large contributions
Yeah.
to the game. The Legion commander was basically the undoing, because you can hold the IO still. He's got nothing in terms of innate armor and survivability. He does not survive long into the face of a guaranteed engagement. He really does much better around the fringes of a fight, where he can pick and engage as he sees fit and really heal up the more combat ready heroes. He's the medic, right? He's not the hard carry, basically.
I also do wonder, we've heard this from other captains, but some teams really prefer to practice strategies in lower pressure tournaments because
Yeah.
a lot of teams, either in scrims, you just can't get kind of the picks out that you want, or people don't care as much, they GG out earlier because it is a scrim, so you don't want to waste your time. Either way,
Right.
we are
And
gonna.
the other aspect there is, if you're relatively confident that something will work and you do it in scrims a bunch to practice it, it does work. Your opponents might figure out that that's what you're doing by the time you do it in any sort of actual
Yeah.
tournament. Then you don't get anything out of having worked the strategy, right? So there is a balance there as well.
The Danish Bears go for something nice. They've got the Invoker, they've got the Night Stalker.
10 seconds
I
remaining.
we this time we don't see the Jug band out. Again,
5
no Chen
seconds
band
remaining.
out. Even though I do know, well, I don't know if they'll run it with the IO as well, but I know Tornado Rocks can
Reserve
play that
time.
hero, so I guess just not a priority in this series.
Yeah, both of these teams prioritize the IO
Radiant
pretty
team
heavily. Yeah,
pick.
this call did not. They won, right? But he didn't necessarily seem to be carrying his weight in the laning phase. The value of recall and blinding light, I think, is often undervalued by just general, armchair theorizing about Dota 2. But really, typically, you want to keep her light to contribute
10 seconds
heavily
remaining.
to the laning phase, and he didn't last time. Then, in addition to that, you've got the Keeper Light
5
Night Stalker
seconds
synergy,
remaining.
not necessarily there either. It's always going to be Night, so one of Keeper Light's
Reserve time.
really strong contributions to defense can be that Ags if a game goes long. But the Night Stalker, the synergy just isn't there.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing. He didn't go for the Axe last time.
No.
I'm really unsure if they'll decide that they have the space for him to go for the Axe again.
I doubt they will with a Night Stalker, right? Night Stalker will certainly be going into the Ags, but Keeper Light, it would be a waste. They'll probably go into Cyclone Staff again.
And as you mentioned, this Coddle, I agree with you. I didn't really feel the impact. I mean, the blind certainly did some good work, was a factor in forcing that Sven into a MKB, but I really didn't see where the Coddle did so well.
Let me make a quick retraction there. He didn't go Cyclone Staff last time. He went Go Scepter Mechanism, I believe, which is probably a similar build that he'll go again this time. Though I will say, if he does end up laning with, say, a Night Stalker, the Chakra Magic does feed into that void which is a big part of Night Stalker's harass in lane, his ability to just pump out that damage every 8 seconds. Normally, that is deterred by his relatively low mana pool. With a Keeper of the Light either rotating into the lane or permanently in the lane, you don't have that. And then in addition, Void sets up a very easy Illuminate because of the slow. So there is some laning synergy. It just doesn't necessarily go super well into the late. And the one point where we really did see the contribution of this Keeper of Light was when he did land those big 5-man blinding lights, which it's difficult to quantify the value of that mischance across an entire team, but it is definitely there, and it does impact the course of fights.
Now, we've got a much safer hero pickup here in the Bane. I really like the Bane against the Night Stalker. You know, you see the Night Stalker running towards you. You might not be able to get it off if the Crippling Fear comes out, but a Nightmare on that guy can just be kind of like a, hey, stop. So
right, yeah. You're just keeping him from being in that fight with his team. Night Stalker does like to get solo pick-off, but really what he just thrives on is the chaos of a nighttime combat where your opponents can't see anything, and he can just pop in and grab somebody out of the side of the fight and drag them into the darkness, right? And Bane, as you mentioned, can shut that down. You throw the Nightmare on the Night Stalker, and then you try to take the fight during the period where the Night Stalker is out of commission, and kind of force him to fall back as his team falls around him.
Radiant team pick.
Now, Disruptor pickup here. This is going to be a core Night Stalker then. I wasn't super sure on that. They go with the Sven again on Tornado. This is interesting. Obviously, Disrupt is a great way of dealing with IO. You can send back the IO or the IO's partner, you know, and kill whoever's left. And you can normally land a good Static Storm kinetic field on the pair.
Right. I mean, if you know somebody's going to teleport back or to a location, you can have the Static Storm kinetic field combo waiting for them, which is devastating. To teleport into that, not be able to throw out your stun, not be able to blink immediately upon landing. The IO Sven did almost work out for Tornado RoX there, so you can see why they might want to run it again, but it does seem like Danish Bears are a bit more prepared to deal with this time. They will have the nighttime restriction of vision from the Night Stalker. They also do, as you mentioned, have the Disruptor counter. They could be thinking about an aggressive tri-lane here as well, the Danish Bears.
Yeah, I think...
10 seconds
It's
remaining.
really interesting. The Sven did great last time. I'm not gonna deny it, but obviously they had the Legion Commander, which did good work. I don't know if Danish Bears will go for it again, just because there might be some more traditional carries that would do a better job with the lineup. They don't need the Legion Commander to deal with the Broodmother.
Yeah, Juggernaut is available as well. He pairs pretty decently into the IO as we outlined last game. He has the instant magic immunity, so he doesn't have to worry about being stunned. He can Omni Slash through a good chunk of the duration of that relocate gank. He pushes really well, which other than the Invoker, Danish Bears don't have a lot of tower assault, which was part of the issue that they had last time until that Legion Commander really got huge stacks of damage. We're talking up in the 180 to 200 earned damage from duel. They had difficulty actually pushing at all. And if they do a similar sort of draft here, then they'll have to take the game more than likely through a lot of fights again. And they won't necessarily be able to convert to objectives as well as their opponents.
Yeah, I mean, with the Jug still out there, I'm trying to think of what's a really nice pickup here for Danish Bears, something that can do as well as the Sven. But Sven is so scary, right? You're a Jug, you're trying to get some work done, you spin in the Sven God Strengths and kills you. Or, like, even with your crit, it's not great. Other carries that do well, I mean, you could try to pick something that kites him, but a lot of those...
you could do something like Medusa, right?
She takes so long to
You
get
don't
online.
see her very often, though.
That's what scares me. It's like, you're just gonna take years, so...
Yeah, they could farm the Invoker and run a Razor in the mid. Use the Mechanism and the Keeper of the Light to try and push down towers very quickly. And then they do have the Static Link to handle the Sven. He does not deal into that very well as the Static Link to counter out the Outward Devourer. They're going to go for a Gyrocopter. This is a kite-friendly hero. Does very well into his Sven in terms of his control. Does not do well into Sven if the gap is closed. They do have a couple of gap-closing mechanisms with the Astral Imprisonment, with the IO Relocate, with the Nightmare and Fiend script to buy Sven time to run up to the gyrocopter. Danish Bears do need to be extremely careful about their positioning this core in these fights.
10 seconds remaining.
I think it's also very scary
5 seconds
the Fiend
remaining.
script into being smacked around right with the gyro. Also, now the primal roar. You
Yeah.
have a decent way to kite, but you only have 6 shots of flat cannon every 30 seconds, and normally your attack range is pretty small. You have to get up in close for that rocket barrage. Sven may have a field there. We'll see, though. A lot of this, as we've talked about before, it really comes down to how this laning phase goes. Gyro's a hero that's very mobile, who can snowball. Same with the Night Stalker. If he's off to a good start, the Io and Bane don't have a chance.
I'm really interested to see how they lane this, because Gyrocopter is typically a hero that uses a bit of babysitting. Usually a hero that has at least one lane support with him, especially into somebody who can summon units like the Beastmaster and harass from a pretty safe distance. That said, their Night Stalker is going to be, we expect, off lane, and you want him to be aggressive into an IO. You might be able to get some early kills like they did last time. It will be, yeah, just interesting to see how they end up deciding to lane this, and at what point in time do they decide to rotate. Do they wait all the way through that 4-minute mark for the Night Stalker, or do they start rotating people out early? Keeper Light is going to at least start off lane with the Night Stalker here.
There is not a whole heap of sustain coming out from the Danish Bears tri lane, or maybe probably I guess it's a tri lane. They might run duels again with the Coddle with the offlaner.
I mean, there is that synergy that I spoke about in the
Yeah.
draft, right? It does work. He is rotating now toward the top, so maybe thinking better of his original decision to run out the south gate. We'll have to see. I expect he'll rotate down into this bottom lane at least for a gank at some point. Just, once again, that natural synergy. You might be able to grab some kills, and if you can get early kills on your
30
Night Stalker,
seconds
games tend to go
left.
really well for you.
Yeah, obviously having at least level 3 puts you off into a good start in the game for the first night. Sorry, if you can have more, even better.
Yeah, and the second night being even more maybe fundamental, having core items by that second night, being able to really aggress at that stage is crucial. Absolutely crucial. The first night, yeah, usually you want to get a kill or two, but
Okay,
an
we're
engagement.
having an engagement because for some reason both sides have gone for the top rune. The Illuminate comes on through. There is a lot of damage on the OD, but now the Night Stalker taking a lot as well. Sven being poked at. The bounty was grabbed by Sven. They want a kill here, but no, the Night Stalker is out, and now Disruptor also getting low. Yol taking some damage, but again, just not enough, and Tron acting. Oh, he eats his mango. He's ready. Noya, it's gonna be our first blood. That's it. That's done. And that's a really nice start for Tornado RoX.
Yeah, not only did they have that stun, but they also, the Astral Imprisonment had just come off cooldown. So even if Sven hadn't been able to close the gap there, the Astral Imprisonment would have bought time. Just great positioning by RoX to kite out that fight, buy the time, and pick off the most vulnerable of the pack.
Now, a nice little thing. It ends. Oh. Okay, they beat Adphenum. Never mind. I should never have underestimated Danish Bears. In case folks aren't on the up and up, Adphenum is a very up and coming. I mean, they're thought of as a tier 2 team, but they recently beat Liquid. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where that puts you. So,
They're definitely strong in the regional count, right? They're not a
Yes.
team that you would expect to be at a major, but they're a team that you would expect to do well in a regional qualifier.
they're tier 1 American. Put it that way. So,
Yeah.
we will be seeing Danish Bears, maybe, I mean, they're down a little, but it's the first blood. It doesn't actually matter as much as folks think, and the bounty runes were split, so Invoca has an even lane in mid for now.
Right, yeah. I mean, First Blood, though, is allowing them to control this lane. The Keeper Light, it does not have levels, which means that the Night Stalker's farm is going to be... There is a domino effect, but as you mentioned, it's not like the be-all, end-all of this game. This is going to hurt,
Maybe.
though.
Yeah, a stun comes out. They do throw out the Illuminate. We are seeing now taking
Oh,
Night Stalkers.
wow.
He's turning it around onto the IO. One more auto attack IO bottling
Oh,
up. They're
no!
not able to get it. And again, the escapes coming out this game.
That, literally, this is the first time I've actually seen a kill be made by the recent change where IO can always just face any direction.
Oh, an attack.
He didn't have to turn to attack there. If he had to have a half of a second for his turn radius to attack, that last auto attack would have made it. That is 6.86 joys for that IO, man. I think that change actually came on 685. But either way, a nice turn and a nice pickup.
It's been in there for a while, you're right, but it's still a, like, much like the
It's a
happy
very
little
small
trees.
change.
Yes, much like the happy little trees, it's not something we often see have a huge amount of impact, and so really cool to see it come into effect.
Yeah, it's just the little things that you can notice in these games. Beastmaster is being zoned out up top relatively effectively.
They even murdered his ball. It was brutal.
Yeah. It's a pig for breakfast, right? But the mid lane is going relatively handily the way of OD. Already 4 last hits in control. He is going through his regen a little bit faster, but as he starts to get up Arcane Orb and ooh.
Okay, I whiffed on that one. Coddle goes down. Looks like Stormhammer was thrown much earlier in the engagement, so...
Yeah.
And now this bottom lane, as we talked about, snowball effect, not sure that they'll be able to stay there so easily.
Yeah. The Caper to Light didn't get the fast levels that you need in order to sustain the 2-man aggression, 2 into 3. Bane does really well in 3-on-1 or 2-on-3 engagements, just because the Nightmare can erase somebody from that fight.
Speaking
And it
of
also
erasing,
allows for this.
Yep, there's the setup. Illuminate just tickles, and again the Night Stalker underleveled going down. They need to abandon this lane, I think. Time for Iron Talons.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Night Stalker is not a hero that goes into the jungle super effectively. He doesn't have any AoE damage, his mana pool isn't huge for spamming out nukes, and in addition, he used to go into the jungle before using Void a moderate amount, and now creeps get additional magic resistance, right? So even that's been nerfed recently. He probably needs to keep it light to just leave his lane, and he needs to just soak up as much experience as he can from the safest possible distance.
He is level 2 entering this first night. That is not... He can't do anything. You just...
Right,
you don't have
he
it.
can't rotate. And OD is not exactly a prime target for rotating either, just because he does have the Astral Imprisonment to disengage, and he is relatively tanky. Like, right now he's got 7 armor. So, a low-level... even a decently leveled Night Stalker would have difficulty rotating into that OD alone. That means if he wants to get a rotation gank, he actually has to rotate all the way to the top to the Beastmaster, which once again is a very low percentage gank. So he doesn't have a lot of places he could have gone, even if he did have the levels that he was expecting. And now, having already given up 2 kills, and 2 kills for his laning partner as well, this first night is all about just catch up.
Yeah. He'll be getting a bit of space. Io attempted to rotate into the mid lane. Beastmaster is also Iron Taloning the jungle, given up on top entirely, but is already level 4, while Night Stalker still level 2. Hold snap in mid. Just gonna tickle.
Yeah. This bottom lane needs to get a rotation into it. Even the Gyrocopter probably needs to make an aggressive style lane rotation. I don't think that they can kill him with just the Disruptor, the Cobalt, and the Night Stalker, but during this first night, if they don't help control the Sven, the relocates are going to be coming out before that second night, and that's when you're really going to start seeing some problems.
Now, you mentioned the early relocates, but interestingly, we do not have any jungle stacks. We have one right now. Obviously, the Beastmaster is doing the other half. Oh, goodness, we have a cooldown coming out. They are getting a lot of damage in onto Yol, and they will find a kill there. Gyrocopter's involvement helping out a lot in this bottom lane.
Impressive from Danish. Like, that's literally exactly what they needed. They got an aggressive rotation out of their carry. That's a hard call to make, but they did it, and they let the Disruptor farm top.
They are going to lose Pingvachek to the IO coming in to support this OD. Although, can they turn anything around? No, Night Stalker doesn't want to go. Oh, the OD blows him up, and that's not great.
Yeah, Night Stalker has 20 intelligence. He can't be near this OD right now. He's just not smart enough to hang in the same circle, you know? Ace rotating down into the jungle. He can't back
looking
top.
for the stack, I think.
He's going to get the courier, though.
Will he actually get it with the speed boost? You're seeing the 365 range coming out from a Gyrocopter. I think he was searching for stacks, obviously.
He's still going for it, maybe. No, okay. He didn't know which way it went.
Okay, we're going to have another stun coming out, but the Disruptor in the meantime dies on top. Ace is coming in. He has that cooldown. He's going to need some backup from Pingvachek to make this a thing, though. And I don't think they can dive this tower.
God. He was really hoping to grab that courier and earn early snag on that to prevent those items from coming out fluidly. would help to buy a bit of time when they're playing at such a disadvantage, right? Just making sure that their items aren't getting out ahead of yours, despite the fact that they have more gold. It gives you a slight cushion time in order to prevent that elongation of advantage.
Yeah, we have another engagement down bottom. They do have Glimpse at the ready. Tron going to be probably
there it is.
pulled back. There is a cooldown as well. They drop it. They're actually getting it on 3. The OD ult is on cooldown.
Oh,
Comes out
boy.
from Ace, but isn't enough. He ends up going down, but they'll get 3 here. Tron
That's
very
great.
tanky, but it's more than enough for the lineup of Danish Bears, and arguably a good thing because they just got ults on their
Yeah,
disruptor.
no, that's fantastic. You don't want the gyrocopter to die, but he lost 53 gold in like 30 seconds of his time. Now he'll also be able to rotate back into the top lane very fluidly without losing mana with full health for the start of the next day. So
Ooh.
it's really not the end of the world.
We have a nightmare. Oh, these two. Oh, goodbye, Disruptor. You're gonna have to take those balls to the face. He eats a tree. A fairy fire, but the last ball hits him, and Io doing good work with those spirits. Although now may just take an illuminate. It's enough. Io goes down, and Ace actually coming back to this bottom lane. He's decided he enjoys the bloodbath.
They're going to try to give Night Stalker a chance to catch up in the top lane, which is, that is a call they can make. I don't think that the Night Stalker can really contest into this Beastmaster, though. That's the problem, right? He's so far behind. He's still not level 6. He doesn't have support there. The Beastmaster, meanwhile, is almost level 7. He's got an Iron Talon. He's almost got his Treads. So Gyrocopter should be able to get farmed down here, just because of the nature of Gyrocopter being good into an aggressive lane. But Night Stalker might get zoned out a bit.
Ingachek also giving a lot of harassment onto OD. We'd already touched on how this lane OD is winning it handily still. But obviously the death in bottom allowed Pingvachek to make a little bit of space, and it still is an Invoker, right? One rotation, there's a lot of spells there.
Can we also just point out that out of the kills on RoX, almost half of them have gone to the IO. He's been getting a lot of these last hits. He's got a bottle and urn up. He's got his brown boots. He's pretty far ahead of what you would necessarily think a level 4 IO should have.
Yeah, he's also
engagement
setting
mid.
up the support onto Pingvachek. He's gonna throw out the Sunstrike!
Oh, wow.
What? Pingvachek, godlike plays. How did he predict that? I would expect the OD to back out a little. Doesn't matter. On bottom, we're having some gank action going down on Yol because Danish Bears, there is no stopping this train.
Yeah, that Sunstrike prediction is a zero-risk prediction, right? Because if the OD chases, you kill him. And if the OD doesn't chase, then you don't die. So throwing it out there was definitely the right call. The exact location that he put it, obviously, highly impressive in terms of its predictive play. But definitely the right play, right? Throw the Sunstrike out around the creeps. You know the OD has to walk around that way if he wants to chase you. And if he decides to go in there, he's going to pay for it.
And they also get the bottom tower off of this for Danish Bears. This is map control. This is actually really nice for them. Obviously,
Go ahead.
Just Sven and Io, they want to be able to take that jungle, help the Io hit the level 6 before the 12-minute mark, and suddenly your jungle's not very safe.
Yeah, and Io not getting 6 nearly as fast as you might expect, especially considering the good early start. He did spend a fair amount of time away from creeps, although he's almost there after this ancient stack. And we saw this kind of last game as well, right, Llama? The early game really went the way of RoX, and then Danish Bears started to pick off a couple of nice engagements and ganks that fed their way into the mid game, and they ended up taking it. So we don't want to undersell the ability of Danish Bears to play from behind. They did a very good job of it last time.
Obviously, there's a lot of skill here. We're probably... they're waiting for the glimpse. They actually only move him a little bit, but it works out to be enough to get the OD kill. Although at the same time, on top, they lose the Night Stalker. Sven getting involved in that kill. And yes, this game, very similar to the last. It was actually quite even for a while there. And again, we're seeing the same thing happen. Io has the relocate up. Sven is now going to be involved in every kill. And that'll just buff up Tron's farm.
One of the distinctions between this game and last game is last game the sacrificial lamb for Danish Bears was the Keeper of the Light, who does everything he does without farm, more or less. This game it's the Night Stalker, who does not do everything he does without farm, so they do have that working against him. However, as long as they stay grouped up here and are forcing down towers this early in the game, they're going to be able to really restrict the vision and efficacy of that Io. Io does not like to blind relocate in. So if he doesn't have tier 2s, if he doesn't have tier 1s, if he can't go out, It hurts.
Oh, they're going to go for a Fiend's Grip, and it goes off, but it doesn't matter. Pingvachek is out, and now the cooldown, Io almost dead. The Static Storm onto Tron. He can still keep smacking away at them, but the Rocket Barrage just rips on through him, and Danish Bears looking like they're ready to make it a 2-0. They're also going to lose BZZ. Danish Bears, they probably will take Roshan, but they're in an excellent... No, they're going to poke at high ground.
Force buybacks this early if they can. They've got drums. They probably can't knock down this tower with Rex. And so maybe RoX are going to count on that instead of buying back. But the tower is toasted. At this point, even buying back won't be it.
Okay, they buy back
tower's
on
gone.
one. The IO has respawned. They're going to poke at the ranged racks. Just, leave the Forged Spirits to do that while they back on out. And suddenly, OD dropping below the net worth of the Night Stalker.
Wow, that is a shift.
Oh,
A
no,
lot of
they're
that is
going
tower
back in.
gold. Yeah, and the buyback.
Okay,
Oh,
they're going
wow.
back in with the smoke
Oh,
play.
no.
If they force a dieback, I don't know if they saw the Bane. No, there's no way they could have seen the Bane. On the bottom, the smoke has been broken. They're going in. They've dropped the cooldown on everybody, and now that's a dieback. The relocate just over a few steps to try and miss on that cooldown, but Tron being kited here, losing all of his mana, taking a full Rocket Barrage glimpse. He's dead, and they also managed to kill off the IO. Tron goes down. They do need the creep wave, but that's no buyback on IO, and the OD.
The
what is-
respawn times are still really low, right? They'll be back in time for this fight because the creep wave's far enough behind. But to talk about going for the throat, DB are rabid this game.
Tower is under attack.
This is actually, I'm really impressed by their play. I do honestly think that Tornado RoX is trying some things, right? They're messing
Right.
around. No, I wouldn't say messing around. I think they are trying some things that they
Experimenting.
couldn't. Yes, experimenting.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I'm still really impressed by Danish Bears, and they are the second, what I would have considered a solid tier 2 team to be impressing me in recent history. Them and Advenom have been playing incredibly well. They're gonna give it a go onto BZZ. They drop the Static Storm. They catch up Ghost Stick. No Primal Roar, and it forces him to take the cooldown. He's gonna take both. He wands up. He's actually saved by the Astral Imprisonment, and Sven working on the back lines, but this is a full set of racks. Fiend's Grip is going out on the Night Stalker, and they blow up the Gyro with the Astral, with the Sanity's Eclipse. Tron still running afterwards. He gets one with the Storm Hammer. Most likely will kill off this Disruptor as well. No, the Kinetic Field stops him because we are 14 minutes in, and nobody has a BKB. Disruptor's still pretty much dead since he's walking right under a ward, but still. 14-minute racks coming up from... Is he really? No.
He's gonna get away, yeah!
What? He had it on cool. He had the Nightmare.
The nightmare was there. He was in the middle of the animation, but he just tucked into the trees and prayed.
Well,
Wow,
this is,
what
this
an
is a
escape.
game. So just taking a look at that net worth graph, which was in favor of Tornado RoX, 5 minutes ago. Now, 10,000 net worth in the way of Danish Bears. 14,000, not 14, 4,000 experience. They have a gyrocopter exactly where you want a gyrocopter to play from.
Yeah, and the fact that they have an experience lead, despite the fact that they've been grouping up, is possibly even more painful than the net worth disadvantage that they're at. Because that net worth disadvantage, you can come back from that if you just get the equivalent towers, right? So if you're a RoX, you get a couple of good trades, you take the towers, suddenly you're even, bam. But normally when your opponents group up as 5 for several minutes, the goal is for you to mitigate that by getting an experience advantage that you can leverage for better fights once your heroes hit 11 first. And that has not been the tail of the tape this game.
Also, while Disruptor's going for an Atos, they are trying to take full advantage of their lead. And basically, this Sven, he's nowhere near the BKB.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have the Atos up on the Disruptor beforehand. This guy is gonna be in Kite City.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a Mary Poppins song. It's crazy how little he's going to be able to get close to anybody.
It's really impressive. Really impressed by this play coming out from them. And yeah,
Radiant's
it's
bottom
Yeah,
really
and
well done
another
breaking.
tower dropping here.
I don't
There's no
know
defending
how
this.
you come back for Tornado RoX. You're waiting. I mean, this game is firmly in the hands of Danish Bears to make a mistake.
has fallen.
Yeah, now they do have OD's ult coming up in 20 seconds, so if there's not going to be a high push here. The Night Stalker still has to worry about that OD ult. Nobody else really does. They actually have quite high natural intelligence heroes. The Gyrocopter is sitting on top of 56, which is pretty good. It's actually better than, or almost as good as the OD, just innately, which means OD can't drop that ultimate before getting a couple
Oh
of those
goodness,
arcane
we
orbs.
have them giving a go onto Ghost Stick. Will he ever get that Primal Roar off? Not today, he has no buyback. And didn't think I'd be saying this 16 minutes in, but the buyback state on Tornado RoX, really important. Instead of breaching high ground, it looks like Danish Bear's thinking about just pushing down all the lanes in top.
Yeah, choke it out, right?
Oh,
Night Stalker is
there's
going to get
a
relocated.
relocate going out. The rest of his team is pretty far away. He's just going to walk it off. And now the lineup of Danish Bears coming in. They all know. They're going to hope that they can relocate back. Oh, he stops the TP with the Void. OD as well is sent up into a little bit of an odd spot. The Sunstrike going to get the kill onto Yol. Can Rodden... He can't... Oh, the Glimpse. He gives them vision for the Glimpse, and BZZ goes down.
Io had Tether when he went down, and he decided to leave the Bane. He had Tether off cooldown. He wasn't silenced. The Bane was within range. And he went back to his Fountain without the Bane. I can only assume that means that in that moment, he thought that the Bane and the OD would be able to swing that fight, not knowing that the entire other team was coming up from the south, not the direction that you'd expect to have to wait for them.
Yeah, just
Dire's bottom tower is under
not the ideal play. The Ags is up on this Night Stalker who had such a hard time. This Night Stalker who was level 2 in the first night that we had a lot of
Oh, man.
concern about has a 18-minute Aghanim Scepter just from all these towers being pushed down. They still have 2.5 minutes on that Aegis. So
A
Night
13-minute Rax will do that, right?
fallen.
And Night Stalker, he's recalled by the Keeper of the Light, so this push is on.
OD getting the very
Top tower is
padded
under
last-ditch triple null talisman build to get as much survivability and intelligence as he can for as cheap of a price as possible. That is really the sort of build that you get if you don't care about your transition, you only care about the now. And there's a good reason for that. If they don't hold out in the now, there will be no transition.
Yeah, OD's starting to stack up a little bit of int there. Sven goes in, pops that BKB, showing off that new shiny toy. Sanity's Eclipse does bring down the Aegis, and now they have no Invoker. That's a lot of Danish Bears fight. The Static Storm in a decent place. Ace trying to run it off. He does get a cooldown onto a number of them, but I don't think that they actually have this fight. Fiend's Grip onto the Night Stalker, and Ace blown up. Danish Bears have not taken this one, and while they got the tier 3 tower, they did not sign up for losing 3 heroes and a gem.
Yeah, the gem loss, that was just purchased. That's painful. They just got the Ags on the Night Stalker. Having that gem is vital as part of that strategy. They lose net swing of about 5,000, which is only a third of their lead. But even so, it's going to allow OD, for one, to help transition away from this Null Talisman build, which is, once again, a crucial part of the overall strategy here of defense.
Now, obviously, this is pretty hard for Danish Bears in that they lost a lot of gold there because they were so far ahead. That was a 5k gold swing, right? Albeit there were 14,000, they're still in a very good position, but you have to be careful. You can suddenly give Tron a whole new item. Suddenly he's rushing around with a Chrysalis or something. So they still do need to siege somewhat carefully. They might wait the next Roshan, just try to starve out the map.
He does have that 10-second BKB up now. So the kiting not going to be nearly as windy, right? He's going to be able to sit a little more comfortably in these fights. But as long as DB continue to maneuver as well as they have been, it will still be very difficult for Tron to actually close the gap, even with the BKB.
Also, there's always pressure going out. This smoke, I believe, was spotted by the birds. We've got TPs coming out of the Beastmaster. The Bane going to be unable to catch him all the way back in base, and the creeps are close enough. Okay, Night Stalker, they're gonna glimpse it. They're doing all of this for a Bane. They'll catch out Yol, and can Tornado RoX take advantage of this overextension by Danish Bears? Yes, it's
No,
not an
and they lose the
overextension.
gem.
Yeah. Oh, did they get it back?
That's what for the Bane kill was for. They wanted the gem, and they have it now on the Night Stalker, which means that that bird that may have spotted out that rotation isn't going to survive very long in the future.
That's actually, this dive makes a lot more sense now, obviously, since getting the gem, very powerful for them. They're going to rotate down to bottom, it looks like, also keeping the pressure up on mid. Now, Ace, he could do well with a BKB too, but he's gone for the Sanjanyasha first.
The Sanjanyasha helped him push. Now, a lot of these engagements have really just been more of force a retreat than, or rather than clash, right? The DB have just been positioning so much better to open these fights, and they have such a lead now that RoX are hard pressed to find a good position to start an engagement. That really works out in Ace's favor, even without that BKB available. And as we mentioned earlier, right, without any vision, the IO's value to this game as a whole is mitigated very significantly. It's difficult to get those relocate kills. A, if your opponents can afford to group up because they have such a lead that it doesn't matter that they're not farming as well. And B, if you never have any vision of them.
We have some really odd map drawings going on. I'm not sure if Danish bears have an idea of this smoke occurring. It feels like they do. They're like exactly chasing the smoke heroes, but no, they're just gonna go for the easy pick onto Tron. They've used the Atos. He does have 9 seconds on that BKB and just a TP out. They don't have anything that breaks that right now, but that was a 9-second BKB, and if they push now, Tron won't have that for the fight.
And Bane also doesn't have a TP up here. So if he's going to make it back for this fight, it has to be with an IO relocate. And now he's going to be caught out.
Yeah, Night Stalker sees it all. It's nighttime. They get the Mana Drain off, and Bane. Sunstrike will miss, but I'm pretty sure the Night Stalker has enough damage at this point to bring down the Bane. Goes in for the Brain Sap. Is actually buying a lot of time for the team. Oh, and will deny himself. Well played.
That's the second deny he's made this game. And it helps, right? But a Bane is honestly worth so little in this fight, and he didn't spend his unreliable gold before he went down. So he actually ended up losing almost everything he would have lost anyway. Still a nice play, but it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
On the other hand, he wasted the a lot of time. There is only 26 seconds till the BKB is back up on Sven. So Tron not nearly as scared for this upcoming engagement, since he should have his BKB at the ready.
He should still be a little scared about this upcoming engagement. You know, the BKB is like having a bucket, but you're still in a leaky boat, right? You still have to work very hard to keep yourself afloat here. Just to maybe trade even requires excellent communication and coordination and positioning in these fights, especially considering that Sven has no maneuverability items. Never mind, he just got his Blink Dagger. That's going to be extremely valuable here.
I also wonder what would have happened this game if the Disruptor had pumped all of that early gold into the Aghanim Scepter as opposed to the Atos. Now has a 4-staff, so that should help some with their positioning around the Sven. Danish Bears, it's going to be a very short, well, it's going to be a short Roshan respawn, and they will have control of the Rosh Pit.
Yeah, there's no vision potential at all for RoX right now, and once again, it's just so rough. You can see Danish Bears are group farming out their opponent's Ancients with absolute impunity.
Yeah, there's not much to do about this.
Yeah, it's right now for RoX. They have to try and get the farm that falls into their mouth. They're gleaning what they can from the natural push. They can't go out too far. They realize that. They are playing fairly well here. They're buying time to try and close the gap. Ideally, what they will do is they'll get their next set of tier items for the OD and maybe the Beastmaster before they're forced to engage.
Okay, yeah, they just blow up the Gyrocopter. There was no... I was expecting maybe some sort of response out of the Danish Bears lineup, but no. Tornado RoX able to get that one. Now we're going to see Disruptor most likely fall. The Primal Roar and the BKB used there. So Sven not shy about using up these charges, and maybe they can turn this into a tier 1. They're thinking about backdooring it, but it's not going to happen.
Both teams see Roche. Both teams have creeps in the Roche pit. So, yeah, that's going to be Roshan, probably. I'm not sure that the Gyrocopter can get down here fast enough unless he buys back.
Well, we've also got... Okay,
he is going to buy back.
Does buy back. That Illuminate did huge amounts of damage. The returned Atos coming out from OD. Tron gonna blink away, but the Invoker was there. They're all in the cooldown. Yol goes down. Ozzy just trying to TP away. Tron also trying to walk it off, but Ace is here. There is a Stormhammer at the ready, not using it onto Ace. Ace put himself way back for that, and it looks like both of these heroes, they don't have TPs. That's why they're getting chased down. Ace for sure getting this OD. He does have the Astral Imprisonment, so dodges the rocket, but he should still fall. And the Sven did manage to TP out, because he had one, unlike the OD.
That lot of good that'll do him. The OD does not have buyback for 50 seconds. We already saw him buyback and dieback earlier on in this game, and this is going to be another set of racks, probably.
Yeah, hard to believe it's been such a short time, but they will at least get the tier 3. Beastmaster will be coming up, Primal Roar at the ready, but can he do anything? There's so there's just so much damage with the alacrity, with all the units. Beastmaster is coming in. Nightmare onto the gyrocopter. God's Strength is coming out from Tron. He pops that BKB. He just wants to bring down Ace. This would be a dieback. A nice static storm, though. Ace forced off even further forward. Invoker, though, just focusing on the racks, and they've got another melee one on their side. Noah's gonna buy some time. A kinetic field that may actually have cost the Disruptor his life, although Noah... or Noya, gonna escape for that. So Disruptor instead of the Coddle going down. But again, another Rax taken.
Yeah, 2 heroes for another Rax. And yeah, you gave up quite a bit of gold there once again, but because your net worth lead is so significant at 27 minutes, they're sitting on 12,000 net worth lead. They can afford to give up a 3,000 gold swing. It doesn't matter. The Rax, the advantage that gives is worth far more. Even if they end up giving up the Aegis here, it's still worth it.
I mean, I think that there is a long way ahead of Tornado RoX. They are doing their best to come back into this game, but as we can see from the net worths, from the gold in this game, like, they are so far behind. Obviously, items are starting to come up, but the other scary thing is, before the 30-minute mark, we're probably going to see that BKB go down to 5 seconds for Sven. That's never ideal.
Right, and not only that, you're going to see that, and they're going to have to defend a single Rax. So they have no opportunity for error at that point, and they have even less opportunity for error because they have no blacking bar duration. Normally, if you have a 10-second blacking bar duration, you have more leeway in a fight, but with a 5-second and no backup Rax, it is do or die every single time.
Yep. Coming out, it's going to be a bit of a stalemate around the Roshan pit. Both teams very aware of this, of course. It would enable, I mean, even without this, Danish Bears could push the high ground, and you can see they're forced, they have to go home on Tornado RoX. They're going to lose a tier 4 if they continue to try to get this Roshan.
Yeah, they're just going to have to give it up, I think, honestly. But what can they do, right? Maybe if they engage with a really great Stormhammer?
They have the Sanity's Eclipse. There's a lot of damage coming out from the OD right now and the Sven.
Yeah, OD, because of this Rod of Atos build that RoX, or that Biz likes, right? He doesn't necessarily have a lot of AoE control. He really has more chase potential, and he's built to get into extended engagements and force a route. That doesn't necessarily work around choke points in the Roche pit, especially when you're this far behind. And I'm not sure if Scamp threw this into a stats box, but he did message me and mention that this is a 6 out of 6 build. He always builds his Rod of Atos. So it is his preference for the survivability and the intelligence that it gives him. It just does not give him quite as much positioning potential in the middle of a fight that a 4-staff would.
Now they are trying to buy what time they can. They've actually relocated to the top lane, hoping to come on back in, while Danish Bears getting rid of some of the vision here. And Tron, he blinks forwards, but not gonna find anything.
I'm really surprised how squirrely Danish Bears are being about this fight. They honestly, they could just take it. They've got the gem, it's nighttime, they know exactly where the vision is, they have a huge level advantage.
I think that they don't... So first of all, the gyrocopter had been off farming for half of that fight.
Yeah.
I think they didn't care. I think they were just keeping 4 around so that Tornado RoX didn't think they could leave, so that they could get free damage on the tier 4s. And now Tornado RoX forced to leave. They get the Aegis.
Right, also just waiting for the super creeps to naturally push in. I mean, it's a safe call, but it's impressive to watch teams make that safe call rather than the hasty call. That they almost certainly would have won that fight either way. They could have forced it. A lot of teams would have forced it. The action, when you're up this far ahead, making higher risks seems easier. And we see a lot of teams end up throwing games that way. And Danish Bears just really wisely biding their time. Now, they don't want to bide for too long, but with 2 sets of racks, they've got a wide berth.
And even if this game goes particularly late, Gyrocopter doesn't scale as well as a Sven, but then of course has the advantages of being ranged-ish. I call him ranged-ish because of the whole 365. It's very short, but then when you also factor in flat cannon, you're very much a ranged hero. You're able to kite, and you can always just pick up a rapier.
Yeah, Gyrocopter pushes better than Sven, even though Sven has that cleave, and he high ground defends better than a Sven, but he does not necessarily do as much hero damage as you would expect a Sven to do. Now, that said, it's going to be very difficult for RoX to high ground into a gyrocopter with a Sven wall down at least 2 sets of racks. So, as you said, the journey here is tough.
And with that, things are just not. I mean, of course, we're going to see the net worth and experience tending towards Danish bears. They're able to farm. We're getting some indications that apparently the entire map is not safe.
The entire map is circled, and it is also a penis. Or
an
bunny
upside down
rabbit?
ice cream cone. Oh my goodness! Come on, you can't reward the behaviors. You just talk about upside down ice cream cones.
Yeah. It's gravity no longer works.
No, like someone dropped it. It's very sad.
Ah,
Have you never
it's
dropped a
sad.
2-scoop ice cream cone?
I protect my 2-scoop ice cream cones diligently. I will have you know.
Okay, well,
but
some of
this
us are
top,
better than others.
this top push, I don't think there's very much that can really be done to stop it unless an absolutely perfect initiation. And that initiation is going to be almost entirely on the back of this poor IO. Because Tron is out on his own pushing bottom. And he'll probably remain there until he has to relocate in for a fight. So that relocate position will be the do or die moment, almost certainly.
Now they're not. Danish Bears really isn't actually grouped up for this.
Yeah.
Invoker doesn't have bots yet, so he's not coming on over. He's potentially in Gank City. Let's see whether they manage to get this one off. It doesn't look like they were able to.
Oh.
The nighttime is popped. They are seeing the Bane. They're also going to see the Hawk. So Bane knows about them. They know about the Bane, but Bane looking like he's going to be the victim here of a rocket barrage. Goes down, and they do. Oh, they just recalled the Invoker, of course. So,
yeah, that's the thing with the Keeper of the Light. One of those values that the Keeper was outside the laning phase is basically you always have boots of travel. Right? If your team is kind of grouped up, you can always be there with them.
now we are going to see Tron. He pops that God Strength. He's going on in. The Night Stalker getting very low, goes forwards, and there's a Static Storm right where he is. He's still alive. Invoker dropping the rock on all of them. Another beautiful play from Pingvicek. There are buybacks coming out. 3 have already, but they have lost this set of racks. No, it's not quite down, and it's the melee racks that are still alive. Ace does have that Aegis, so he could just siege this if he wants to. In the face, in comes Tron. No God Strength, though, no BKB. Nice cleaves coming out. That was just Aegis. Sanity's Eclipse barely tickling them, though. They do manage to finally bring down this Night Stalker. Fiend's Grip onto Pingvicek. He is going down. Ace pops that BKB and realizing he needs to on out and leave. And they have saved their melee racks. Ace looking like he's ready to take a tumble. He has 5,000 gold, almost 6,000. Drops the cooldown, trying to make up some distance there, but it's not looking like he'll get out. Can Noya do anything to help out? The blind comes out. Tron will be able to blink up in a few seconds, and the recall onto Ace. The hammer's flying. No, he takes damage from the urn. But at the meantime, bottom tower, it goes down.
Radiant's bottom barracks has fallen.
Yeah, that was just a ranged barracks in the bottom.
But
and...
it's full supers in that lane now.
Right, exactly. Full supers in the lane, and now only 1 Rax left. Sure, it's a 5-man trade, but when you still have tier 1s in your opponent's lanes in everything except top, right? They're not going to be able to convert this. There's no Roche. So, God, that probably was a swing of well over
7K.
5,000.
Yeah, it was 7,000 gold exchanged, but again, when we look at the net worths, it's just back down to that 15,000 lead for Danish Bears. It's going to be also still a huge experience lead. They can't get out of their base to farm on Tornado Rocks. They are now out of buybacks. They expended 3 there.
Yeah. So, yeah, they fought valiantly. They held their base, sort of. They took a fight because of an overextension by Danish Bears, or an arguable overextension. But they need maybe 3 more of those before they're anywhere near striking distance of this game, right? And that one, it cost them 2 racks, 1 on each side of their base. They only have 1 more racks to trade.
Yeah, and as you said, only 1 more racks to trade, and it's getting low.
They have also been losing racks at almost a steady rate of 1 lane every 13 minutes. So it's been pretty reliable here from Danish Bears.
39 minutes is the go time for Danish Bears,
Yeah.
is what I'm hearing.
Yep. They're gonna wait it out for 3 minutes. Just take a couple picks or something.
Now, obviously, we've had some item progressions come out, at least on one side, since Tornado RoX is pretty much stalled. They do actually have Necronomicon level 3 on that Beastmaster, also the Blink Dagger and the Vlads. So that's something, as we keep saying. And BKB is almost up on BZZ, who no longer needs to save for buyback.
Sustains.
Yeah,
He
well,
doesn't have it.
Remains.
yeah, you get the item, but without the buyback, remember that last fight they only got because of the hyper aggression from DD and 3 buybacks. A BKB doesn't make up for that loss of buyback. It once again, the positioning has to be absolutely perfect, and a large portion of that really just comes down to the IO. And going into double force staff on your opponents means not only do you have to initiate perfectly, but you have to disable your opponents to protect that initiation.
Oh, a
perfectly
relocate
as
is
well.
happening in the river. They're going in onto the Fiend's Grip to Disruptor, and he's being left for dead.
Yeah.
It's just fine. He bought out earlier.
It's not that big of a pick for Danish Bears to deal with. I mean, it's a great pick for RoX. Every little bit helps. But for Danish Bears, fighting that instead of just giving up the kill, it wouldn't make sense.
Now they are maneuvering as if they might want to get something done. The Hawk, of course, sees them all. Ace has picked up the full Scotty. We saw it on the items, but okay, the Tornado, it's going to hit onto Yol. This means that they're going to see him completely. They've dropped the Meatball. This means they don't have it for the rest of the fight. The Astral Imprisonment is saving him, and now Danish Bears backing on out. They've used the nighttime. Oh no, Ace pops his BKB, goes in. They kill one. Can he find more? He has the Scotty up. He's shooting them all in the face and an EMP. Tron is going to have no mana, no nothing, no buyback. Danish Bears take the fight, one man down, and they've won it. There is no escape here for OD, and that's it. He
Even if
drops
RoX
the
were up,
he
they're going to
drops
lose their racks here.
the
Yeah.
Sanity's Eclipse. Doesn't matter. That's GG, folks. And we're gonna be 2-0 by Danish Bears.
Yeah, a devastating Game 2 performance. At the end of Game 1, also, if you guys missed Game 1, hop in at about 35 minutes and just take a look at Danish Bears' execution throughout the end of that game. It was really laudable. It was great.
Yeah, either way, really fantastic job from Danish Bears. They've showed us some great stuff here. I'm excited to see more of them. I'm loving how all of this works. How I think, in my opinion, because of the majors, a lot of tier 2 teams are playing in bigger tournaments because the big European teams are all off doing major stuff, you know, they're prepping, they're not playing in these tournaments, and it's making space to see great matches like this. So thank you to all of that. Also, thank you, WonderCal, for joining me. You can find him at the WonderCal on Twitter. We also had Scansor on Stats. You can also find him on Twitter as Scansor. I'm Llama Down Under. And with that, we're done with the BTS Euro series. Americas will be coming up in a bit. We'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.